Hello, I'm Kim Sauer in Munich at the Evertiq Tech event, and I'm joined today by Peter Brent from Reed Electronics Research. Now, Peter, you've just come off the stage and you had a very interesting talk filled with information. I think too much to really cover in this very short interview. However, there's some really important points to make, especially for this audience here, and some learning points as well. So the full report is obviously available at Reed Electronics Research.
It is, yes.
But let's talk about the industry. Let's talk about Europe in particular first. What's going on with electronics production?
In terms of electronics production, in total, that's EMS plus OEM production. It's growing slowly, put it that way. But really there are some important sectors which are driving growth, like control and instrumentation, like medical and automotive, of course.
Now those are obviously very traditional markets, also very strong in Germany, and you had one particularly interesting slide as well where you're looking at the DACH countries.
Yes.
Germany, way up there.
Indeed.
But there are still some things going on with some shifts over to the east and coming back. So what are the trends there that you're seeing?
Well, this is affecting the whole of electronic production as both OEMs and, of course, EMS, the customers being OEMs, are actually under pressure of price. And so we're seeing a slow shift of production from Western Europe into Central and Eastern Europe and into North Africa as well. And this is a trend that we think will continue.
Okay, that's and that do you see a trend worldwide that also there's some production coming back from Asia to these particular geographies?
I think there is some production coming back from Asia into Europe. I think it's very difficult to say exactly what proportion that production is. From our conversations, we are seeing some work coming back from Asia, but a lot of that is going to the lower cost satellite plants of the original manufacturers and also EMS. So it's going into Central and Eastern Europe rather than remaining in Western Europe.
Okay, and overall you mentioned that it's a relatively flat level we're at. We are seeing some growth, but you also mentioned some particular areas of production that are really important for these areas, and one of which was medical, and you certainly highlighted
Yes.
that as a part of your presentation. So what are the trends that we're seeing there?
I think in terms of medical, I mean, one of them is certainly a structural trend which is happening in all of the major countries as we see it, in terms of the creation of the very large and very expert hospitals, if you like, regional hospitals, and then city hospitals doing more of the general, what shall I say, operations and attending to chronic illnesses. And then that's descending through local clinics and, of course, treatment now at home, which is becoming an increasing growth area. So that's, if you like, the big picture. I think we're also seeing increasing investment by health boards and also national health institutions in both the big kit, scanners, analysis equipment, things like that, and also smaller electronic equipment for analysis of blood pressure and so on.
So there's a lot of production that therefore has to be close to these, well, I suppose, facilities and hospitals, etc. That's why you're seeing a lot of growth in those areas.
I think that's true. I think also medical equipment is in relatively small series and it's very complex. So that, of course, lends itself more to manufacture by OEMs and EMS in Western Europe. So we're not looking at long run lengths or big series of production, but very expert, relatively low levels of production.
Now you mentioned EMS, and again a part of your presentation today was very much focused on the EMS environment and what's going on there. So just highlight a couple of the trends that we're seeing there.
I think there's a number of issues in EMS. EMS, of course, are seeing this trend of the movement of production from Western Europe across to Central and Eastern Europe and North Africa. That's certainly one trend. There's an important trend as well, though, at a company level for EMS, where, as we would see it, the companies are able to get arguments over to the EM on the total cost of supply rather than just an issue on price. And I think that's a message that's being listened to by many OEMs as they look at the, if you like, the cost across the whole of the product life cycle.
Mm-hmm. And one very poignant slide that you had up was that separation between actually who's controlling that EMS market. So actually I suppose the structure of the EMS industry. Just give us a little overview of what your findings were for that.
Well, we started looking at the structure of the EMS industry some years back, and we've used some analysis of taking, if you like, Group 1 companies being the very global companies, and we would number them as 6 companies. And then descending from that in terms of, if you like, multinational companies in Group 2, we say about 19, this is European companies, and then to Group 3, approximately 50 of those, and a very long tail of rather small companies who are in fact finding things probably very competitive.
And the distribution of the actual turnover is quite important on that slide, and that's probably one that you can find in the report.
Exactly so. I mean, we're looking at just over half of the total revenues that we would see in Greater Europe being earned in Europe by the top 6. And that is a very large number indeed.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, Peter, thank you very much for your time today. Thank you for participating here at the Evertiq Tech event, and hope to see you very soon.
Okay. Pleasure.
Thank you.